was she said she was in talks with them and agreed to the 10 oh yo, Diddy's investigators are goated. They brought up something that nobody should know about. Cassie just agreed to a settlement. That means somebody from the Intercontinental leaked it to Diddy's investigator. That's lit. Oh, okay. So is it? Oh, she didn't receive the settlement yet. Oh, she didn't receive the settlement. Okay. Judge says anything further. AOC Johnson. So this is like a redirect. Says I have one question. The judge says, I was asking Mr. Stavo, could you wrap up in 2 minutes? Stavo says, this is the last thing I'll ask you to read, Cassie. Cassie says, thank you. And she reads, we need closure and understanding. AOC Johnson then goes for her 2 minutes and says, why did you keep your devices? Cassie says, I was afraid of what was on them. I wouldn't take him to the Apple store. Estavo, and then they go to Estavo and says, you have one question. And it says, you just reached a $10 million settlement with the Intercontinental last week, right? Before the trial. It says objection. And they says overruled. Yes. So the $10 million, she's going to get the 10. Wow. Here's the thing. As part of that $10 million settlement, there's an NDA. I'm actually surprised they didn't make it even a bigger thing. There's an NDA. They should have said relevance, whatever. Like, what the fuck? Who cares? But even though there is relevance, she has to answer this honestly, though, because it's a criminal court. Criminal court trumps everything to do with NDA and civil. Okay. They're going to break. They're going to bring up an FBI agent. And the FBI agent is going to be the person who investigated the case. Wow. Let's go to here.
I've got a question for you, Ben, from Christina. Do we know if any other victims and how many will be testifying about Cassie's original?
I want to see the lunchtime, feedback of what was going on. Let me go to live. All right.
Right, because she might be.
We just want to see the lunchtime shit, right?
Create.
Maybe we can get it. Okay. Let's go to Fox 5 for Lisa Evers. Fox 5, New York. Fox 5. Here we go. Oh, by the way, so Cassie's done. Her lawyer did do a press conference. So her civil attorney did do a press conference after she got off the stand.
It's hard to put into words how honored I have been to represent.
This thing is a bag collector. He secured 20 from Diddy and 10 million from an Intercontinental. This guy secured the bag.
Cassie Ventura. Since we filed her civil complaint in November of 2023, she has shown such great courage and bravery for stepping forward, and she has now testified throughout this entire week. She's done so under the most difficult of circumstances, just about to give birth to her third child, and under some very difficult circumstances because of the subject matter of what she testified to. Putting that aside, she was able to do so poignantly. She was able to do so graciously, and it's a real testament to who she is and the support that she has. I have a statement from her, and I also have a statement from her husband, which I'll read in a moment. But before I do, there's a few people I want to thank. Most importantly, I want to thank my partner Meredith, who's here, as well as the other attorneys who worked on the case at our firm, including Kat Bask, who's also here. And I also want to thank, of course, the excellent attorneys in the U.S. Attorney's Office who have really been great lawyers, but also just great people who have made Cassie feel comfortable in the process. Would also like to thank the court staff who have made our appearance this week easy. the Department of Homeland Security, the Marshals. And with that, I'd just like to read a statement that Cassie just prepared, as well as her husband. They're two separate statements. I'll read Cassie's first. This week has been extremely challenging, but also remarkably empowering and healing for me. I hope that my testimony has given strength and a voice to other survivors and can help others who have suffered to speak up and also heal from abuse and fear. For me, the more I heal, the more I can remember. And the more I can remember, the more I will never forget. I want to thank my family and my advocates for their unwavering support, and I'm grateful for all the kindness and encouragement that I have received. I'm glad to put this chapter of my life to rest. As I turn to focus on the conclusion of my pregnancy, I ask for privacy for me and for my growing family. And then I have a statement from Alex Fine. Over the past 5 days, the world has gotten to witness the strength and bravery of my wife, freeing herself of her past.
Yo, shout out to the kick chat, man. I think my boy Aiden in the chat over there. Aiden, what up, boy? Yo, Aiden, you got a burner kick account, bro? Yo, does Aiden have a burner kick account? Oh, somebody said, oh, that's not Aiden. Oh, I was about to say, what the hell?
There's been speculation online surrounding how it must feel for me to sit there and listen to my wife's testimony. I have felt so many things sitting there.
Oh, this is the husband's statement now. Jesus.
I'm glad to put this chapter of my life to rest. As I turn to focus on the conclusion of my pregnancy, I ask for privacy.
By the way, yo, James Tonic, thank you for the 150 subs. Holy shit. My boy over here, he dropping the bag. 150 big subs, bro. Everybody, big W for James Tonic over at Kick, man. He dropped off 150 subs, man. That's crazy. Thank you, bro.
For me and for my growing family. And then I have a statement from Alex Fine. Over the past 5 days, the world has gotten to witness the strength and bravery of my wife, freeing herself of her past. There has been speculation online surrounding how it must feel for me to sit there and listen to my wife's testimony. I have felt so many things sitting there. I felt tremendous pride and overwhelming love for Cass. I have felt profound anger that she has been subjected to sitting in front of a person who tried to break her. So, to him and all of those who helped him along the way, please know this: you did not. You did not break her spirit nor her smile that lights up every room. You did not break the souls of a mother who gives the best hugs and plays the silliest games with our little girls. You did not break the woman who has made me a better man. I did not save Cassie, as some have said. To say that is an insult to the years of painful coercion, violence, and threats. She did the work of fighting the demons that only a demon himself could have done to her. All I have done is love her as she has loved me. Her life is now surrounded by love, laughter, and our family. This horrific chapter is forever put behind us, and we will not be making additional statements. We appreciate all of the love and support we have received, and we ask that you respect our privacy as we welcome our son into a world that is now safer because of his mom. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate the media's attention to this case as well. Thank you.
Did he take questions? I don't know if he took questions. Give me 1 second. Let me just Google this. Douglas Wigdor press conference. Sorry. Douglas Wigdor. Hold on. Just give me a second, chat. No, I think that's the full thing. Okay.
So it was a little different than we've seen, you know, on prior days, especially for opening statements.
All right, hold up. All right, cool. What else? We're just trying to recap or get. Well, I guess the black girl went on.
The most powerful part of Cassie's testimony today.
This is Fox 5, not Law and Crimes.
And probably
Lisa Edwards is out then, I guess.
Of all 4 days that she was on the stand, came during questioning about the $20 million settlement she received after that civil lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. The defense tried to imply that money was tight for her at the time and asked her if the reason why she canceled her scheduled tour overseas was because she now had millions of dollars. She responded by testifying and crying on the stand, saying, "I'd give that money back if I never had to have freak-offs. If I never had to have freak-offs, I would have had agency and autonomy, and I wouldn't have had to work so hard to get it back." Her husband left the courthouse after sitting through testimony nearly all week, listening to his wife detail all the alleged sexual abuse she endured over 11 years. An audio recording was also played in court of her confronting someone named Sujit, who said they had video on their phone of Cassie pleasuring herself and having sex with someone who wasn't Diddy. More texts between Diddy and Cassie were shown of Cassie showing enthusiasm for the freak-offs, not something she said she wanted to do, but did it to please Diddy as her career took a backseat, saying it became like another job, setting up the freak-offs, preparing for them, and recovering from them. Cassie also testified that she went to rehab for opiate addiction and still takes medication for it. One of Cassie's lawyers spoke out after she wrapped testimony.
Everything that she's gone through in the 10 years or so with Sean Combs, her drug addiction and her recovery, to be able to come into this courtroom and testify for the last week on these very
to save herself. Cassie.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we're just trying to get some more details about her testimony. I think this is a good time to go to Logic, right? Logic. So this will be at least the first half of today. Let's see. Morning. Here we go.
This morning was the most explosive day of the Diddy trial. We are on day 5, and it's the second day of the cross-examination of Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who the state alleges was trafficked by Diddy for the vast majority of their 11-year relationship. Now, on the first day of cross, things were kind of slow, and a lot of people here thought the defense was making no headway. Today, they've been more on the attack, more of an interview style that they had yesterday. And today, they've definitely been somewhat more aggressive. Early this morning, they played an audio clip where they were trying to show the hostile side of Cassie and trying to perhaps make her seem a little less charming than the defense admitted that she was, by sharing an audio clip of her yelling at an individual named Sujit. Now, Sujit is someone she talked about on direct as a person who had told her that he had access to sexually explicit videos of her that someone else had gotten. And there was speculation this morning that it may have come that Cassie and Diddy both thought that the video may have been leaked by Jonathan Odie, which I'll let you raise your own speculation about that.
Probably was.
But the audio, I did not get to hear the audio myself. I was told by several people here that she sounded very desperate and angry, and that we don't even know that Sujit is responsible for this video, and that she was threatening that she was going to effing kill him. I'm going to effing kill you. I won't do it myself. I'll have someone else do it. I've never killed anyone before. And also asking, why are you being like this? If I had something like this, I would share it. I would at least let the other person see it. So the audio, they said from the people who heard it, had a reaction of, it sounded like a woman who was very desperate about the fact that she was concerned that a humiliating video was about to be released publicly. So whether or not that had any impact on the jury is really anyone's guess. But if you're looking at the informal jury of the viewers from the trial who were sitting in the gallery, they seem to think that that was not like an overreaction given the nature of what she was facing in that particular moment, and that people say, I'm going to kill you all the time. So whether or not that impacted the jury, I don't know. But the other strategy that the defense has been taking today is that they have been trying to attack her memory and trying to relate and convey to the jury that her memory is not something that is any longer reliable. And how do they do that? Well, they brought up the fact that she's been through therapy, where she had neurotherapy, and they had electrodes that she said were basically placed on her head, and a second type of therapy, which was also designed to try and help her deal with memory issues and process through those memories. Now, on the one hand, you can say that the jury might take that, yeah, that's how much trauma she sustained as a result of the defendant. But on the other hand, their objective was to try and say that her memory is not reliable, specifically with reference to a sexual assault that she alleged happened in August of 2018, near the very end of her relationship with Diddy. She testified on direct that after having dinner with him, when they were going through their closure period, and when she brought him into her house, that he attacked her, and she was screaming no, no, no as she was being sexually attacked, and that he finished and left. And she admitted that a month later, she engaged in consensual sex with him, which a lot of people raise eyebrows at. And when asked that question, she said, you don't just stop loving someone after 10 years. Well, that has been the focus of the testimony and the cross-examination from the latter part of the morning session here. Specifically, she was questioned about the fact that in her civil suit, the defense claims that she wrote that the attack did not happen in August of 2018, but in September. They also claim that she changed her testimony, that she had told the police that it happened in September, and that's what she wrote in her civil suit, but now she's testifying that it happened in August. This is consistent with what they were addressing earlier, that her memory is not really reliable. Or that she's manufacturing her testimony, because they say, after you were shown something by the state a month ago, now you're coming in here and saying that it happened in August. And they showed further text messages designed to show that even down the stretch, a month later, on or around when she ended up engaging in consensual sex with Diddy, which what she says was consensual sex, and the state wants us to believe that the defense wants us to believe that there was never any assault at all, and that never happened. And they're trying to say, like, there's no implication from any of your text messages afterwards that he assaulted you. You seem to be completely fine with him and engaged with consensual sex. At this time, you were dating another man in September of 2018, and the point being that that she was cheating on him with Diddy, and that Diddy was okay with her dating another man, and that even while she was out with Diddy, she did not tell her then boyfriend, now husband, that she was out with him, and that he tried FaceTiming her while she was out with him, and asked her, did you have sex with him? Were you having sex with him while your boyfriend was trying to FaceTime you? And she said, I don't remember what we were doing. I know I was with him when he tried FaceTiming me. So the objective here is to show that she's not quite the virtuous saint that she seems to have been portraying on the stand for the last 4 days, and furthermore that her memory is not trustworthy. One final point I want to give to you is that they were asking her during this section, when they were talking about her feelings for him down that stretch after the alleged sexual assault, that they said, did you hate him? And she said no. They said, do you hate him today? And she said no. They said, do you still have love for him? And she responded, today. Do you have love for him today? And she said, I have love for the time that we had. So I expect that the defense is certainly going to try and bring that up in their closing arguments, that she said, I love for the time that we had, implying that she was consenting to all of the activity that the state is saying that the state wants to label as trafficking. And I think that was potentially a very big win for the defense, that they at very least got that quote out of her. The attorney was wise enough not to dig any further and allow her to distinguish between the good times and the bad times, the cheating and the non-times she enjoyed, and some of them she hated.
Okay, all right. We were just trying to get some more sources about what the fuck happened. I think we kind of got it. And by the way, that's the ending of Cassie's testimony, right? So, yeah.
Sean
I think
Combs'
this
legal
is-
team.
this.
It seemed like that means, I guess, and to just videos. And
Yeah, if someone's not in court. Oh, actually, I wanted to hear this.
Again, it wasn't 20, but today she's been very calm, very measured, especially considering the audio clip that we heard of her threatening to kill someone. I looked over at the jury box because I was wanting to hear their reaction as we're hearing in real time her voice threatening several times to kill someone because she's concerned about this freak-off video, and the jurors were shocked. I saw the eyebrows raised, I saw them listening, and I think to hear her voice in court and see how calm and measured she is, and then to hear that side of her. Again, it wasn't 2014 that this audio clip was something that she recorded, but clearly she's threatening someone who she thinks might release a freak-off video, and she's worried about it.
And the person that she was threatening was one of Diddy's associates.
Correct.
Okay. So you saw the jurors' reactions to that audio tape. What was Diddy's reaction? What was Cassie's own reaction when she heard her audio?
She just kind of looked down. I mean, she wasn't, and it was hard for me. I had to literally, I have a great shot of the jury in terms of where I'm sitting. I can see Sean Combs. I have to sort of raise up to look at Cassie Ventura, but she seems to be very calm. I mean, I think she knows that some of this evidence was going to come out. So she's answering the questions, yes, no. When she doesn't remember something, she's very clear about that. But the prosecution, the defense has been trying to poke some holes into the testimony she gave about the alleged rape that she said took place toward the end of their relationship.
How are they trying to poke holes in that alleged rape that took place?
The timeline. They're looking at the timeline. They're asking her questions. Well, was it this time or that time? They're also looking at around that same time she was still talking to or dating, as she says, her now husband, Alex Fine. So they're trying to really, in many ways, I think what they're trying to do is question her credibility.
So Cassie was asked about receiving a FaceTime from her now husband while she was having sex with Diddy. Is that again the case of the defense trying to poke holes in her story?
I think that's where it goes back to how much can we trust this person, because they're entering evidence with phone records and different things to show, well, you were with this person at this time, or you sent that message, but yet you were dating this person. This is about a criminal enterprise, and there are several elements to that don't necessarily speak to if she was in bed with Diddy or if she was FaceTiming her now husband. So I think they're trying to use what they can, again, to discredit her overall as a witness, because this is also about beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right. Diddy's personality, his temper has come up, and today his own defense lawyer said, could it have been his bipolar disorder? What was the reaction in the court?
Right. So again, this is a moment where the prosecution's asking Ventura about testimony that she gave. I didn't see a reaction, so to speak, from the jurors necessarily when this issue came up. But again, it speaks to these mood swings that they've been talking about that he has, that Ventura has said 1 minute he could be nice and he could be kind, but with the drugs and with the alcohol, it was a completely different person.
The prosecutors are hoping that Cassie's testimony wraps up today. They're afraid she's going to go into labor over the weekend. What are you hearing inside of the courtroom and rumblings as to, whether or not she will be wrapped up today, and what would happen if she doesn't finish her testimony? What would happen to the case?
To watch someone who is that far along in their pregnancy breathe, kind of take their time, ask for breaks, it's not shocking that they want to get her off this stand so she can focus on having her third child.
Even more text messages are being revealed today, and one text message in particular, Cassie writes, "I'm lost without you." How damaging was that text message?
Honestly, Rachel, there have been several text messages where she shows that she wants to be with Sean Combs for the rest of her life. We know now that she called herself Cece for Cassie Combs. We know now that she wanted to have a child with him. She saw herself as a wife. So to say those things at this point is not that surprising. But even the defense ended their argument with a text message from 2012, which appears to show Combs saying, "I want to do our last freak off." And then she says something to the effect of, "I don't want it to be our last freak off. I want it to be the first for the rest of my life." That's what she said. But what was so interesting is on redirect, the prosecution showed the context of that text where she then says, "I don't want to do freak offs anymore."
That's the head spin right there.
It is. And I think you could feel that energy in the courtroom.
Right.
Because I looked over at one of my colleagues and I like, did I write this down correctly?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, but that's sort of what makes this case so interesting, because you have someone who was in this long-term committed relationship, and they say they had breaks at times, but 11 years is not something to sneeze at. And that was a long time that they were together, but it was complicated, it's complex. But Cassie Ventura maintains throughout that she really didn't want to do these freak-offs, that she just wanted to be with Sean Combs.
We're anticipating that on Monday, Dawn Richard will be taking the stand. What might we expect to hear from her testimony?
So Dawn Richard, oh, they're calling her Dawn Richard. Okay. She didn't take the stand yet. I think we kind of got all the angles. I think we could probably move on to this investigators side of things.
I'm Carlos.
We'll kind of look
You want to go
around.
shopping?
Huh. Want to go shopping on some Diddy shit, huh? I want to see if there's any videos of them going in the courtroom, this and third. Oh, my God. Don't tell me their platform. This thing. All right, whatever. Okay. All right. So let's get back into it. This is now, we have Cassie off the stand, and now we have a special agent that's going to take the stand, then Dawn Richard, if you want to call it that. So why is this? It's a we object to the testimony of the witness after special agent Dawn Richard. What? So why is this coming up at 3:30? Blah blah. So good afternoon. Where do you work? So this is now special agent Yasin Binda, HSI in the human trafficking group. I'm in crisis negotiation group as well. AUSA says, did you serve subpoenas in this case? Agent Binda says, yes. When Sean Combs was arrested, where did you go? They say to the Park Hyatt Hotel, room 2115, where he was staying. There were photos of the entrance shown to the jury. It says, what did you do? We assigned a letter to each room and began to search. He said, what was your role? I took photographs of items. I signed them on the 6051 form. So what was found in the closet? It said there was photos of plastic bags full with J&J baby oil and Astroglide. Are you fucking kidding me? Wait, no fucking way. No way. Yo, Diddy got to be an idiot. Yo, if your house gets raided and they're running it in the media that they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil at your house, my nigga, why the fuck would you still be having baby? You know they're trying to run a narrative, my nigga. Like, nigga, I don't care if you're using it for ashiness, nigga. I'm going to be ashy now. Bro, they found the same shit. Oh, Diddy really was still thinking he on top of the world. Remember, they raided his mansions in Miami and LA. They found 1,000 bottles of baby oil. And then when he gets arrested months later, they find more baby oil in the hotel that he was staying in. And they find lube and ecstasy. So it basically saying this nigga was still doing freak-offs while he was preparing for the indictment. This is crazy. It says, what was found in the bathroom? Several bottles of baby oil. So Diddy really on some shit like he want to see everybody glistening. It says, AUSA says the bedroom. What you find in a Louis V bag? He says a medication in the name of Frank Black. So basically, the story's coming together. Diddy was using this moniker, the pseudonym, Frank Black. It says, hold on. Why is Pluto crying like a hoe? I could hear him. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to go get him in a second. AUSA says, and what is this? It says bags of pink powder found in the medicine bottle. It said the stipulation showed agreeing that it was found and tested by Customs and Border Patrol Lab. AUSA reading from the strip, this pink powder was found to be ketamine and MDMA, ecstasy in the bottle. The physical evidence is passed around to the jury. So what was found in the black mini backpack? It says $9,000. Said, please take the cash out the bag. They does, and they're fanning out the bills. So Diddy had $9,000 in cash, had drugs, Astroglide, baby oil, even at the last moment of freedom. AUSA says no further questions. The judge says any cross. Tenny Garrigo says in the hotel. So Tenny is back up. She says in the hotel room, did you see any bags and clothing indicating that women were staying there with him? Agent Bender says yes. The judge says the U.S. may call this next witness. It looks like they rest after one question, right? So they're like, all right, you know what? Y'all got it, bro. Y'all got it, right? AUSA says, the government calls Dawn Richard, and Dawn Richard takes a stand. It says, where are you from? Dawn Richard says, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. AUSA says, from 2004 to 2011, who do you work for? Puff, Sean Combs. AUSA says, do you see him? She says, yes, pointed him out. AUSA says, who's depicted in this photo? She says, Cassie. In 2009, did you observe an incident between Puff and Cassie? Dawn Richard said she was attacked by Sean Combs and kicked. AUSA says, do you see more violence against Cassie? Did you see more violence by him against Cassie? She says, often. A photo of Diddy Dirty Money was shown. AUSA says, when were you a member of this group? She says, from 2009 to 2011. AUSA says, the incident in 2009 when Sean Combs beat Cassie, where was it? Says in Sean Combs' LA home. We were recording. What did he do? He was saying, where the fuck is my food? He grabbed a black skillet with eggs and tried to hit her over the head. Cassie dropped to the ground. He said, what did she do? She went into the fetal position. Then what? Dawn Richards says, Sean Combs was kicking her in the head and body, then dragged her up to the first floor. Glass was breaking and there was yelling. I was scared for her and for me too. Did you intervene? Dawn Richards says no. AUSA says, did you call police? She says no. AUSA says the next day, what happened? Dawn Richards says that it had been passionate and she was okay, that it would be better if we didn't talk, that people could come up missing. AUSA says, how did you understand that? Dawn Richards says, death. What? What the hell? Agnifilio says, objection. They have a sidebar. Back from sidebar, the judge says, jurors, you could leave for the weekend, watch the Yankees play the Mets or the Knicks. If you're not into the sports, there's a lot going on. Basically saying, just don't look into things discussed in the case. See you Monday. Okay? The judge says, Mr. Richard, you could leave. The judge says, about this line of testimony, not Mr. Richard, it should be Mrs. Richard, right? Because it's Dawn Richards. It's about this line of testimony. Comey says this shows consciousness of guilt for count one and relevant to count one. Agnifilio says it's not sex trafficking, it's domestic violence. The judge says, why didn't you bring a motion in Limeline on this? Agnifilio says, I did not know. Agnifilio says, we can't sit here and say Ms. Ventura did anything because of this event, because she didn't talk about this one. So it's rank speculation. The judge says, but she was there. Agnifilio says she doesn't know the effect on Cassandra Ventura. The judge says, who are the next witnesses? AUSA says Kerry Morgan and David James. Wow, okay. Kerry Morgan, David James. Who's David James? Oh, that was an assistant. Now, there's two Diddy assistants that's going to testify against him, Mia and David James. Mia and David James are testifying against him. Interesting.
To witness.
Okay. So we're caught up. Cassie's off the stand. Dawn Richards is still on the stand.
Baby oil, candles. Also seen baby oil came up a couple of times. In this instance, Cassie
said there was a baby pool filled with oil.
said during a freak off they would fill an entire baby pool with baby oil. Cassie says that they specifically used Johnson & Johnson brand baby oil that she would get from a drugstore. And in this exchange, the defense attorney says, quote, just to clarify information not in the record, there were no drugs in the baby oil, correct? To which Cassie replies, not the ones, no. Then the attorney says, no, never in your experience, right? To which Cassie says, no. The defense attorney says, quote, if you took drugs, you always took them orally, right? And Cassie says, yeah. And the defense attorney then says, you testified yesterday that you would heat up the baby oil, right? And Cassie says, correct. That's a key exchange, not just because it paints a picture of just how much baby oil it would take to fill up a small pool and that they heated it up for a freak off, but in October of last year, a civil suit was filed by a victim who went by Jane Doe, who claimed that the baby oil that was found in Combs' house was laced with the date rape drug GHB. Now, Cassie testified yesterday that she has tried different drugs during her relationship with Combs, including GHB. Here's the exchange. The defense says, quote, it was a special time to also experiment with different drugs, right? And Cassie replies, we definitely experimented with different drugs. Yeah. The defense then says, quote, and some took and some didn't, right? Cassie answers, yeah. The defense says, you tried psychedelics, right? Uh-huh. Cassie says, and GHB? Asks the defense, and Cassie says yes, as well as she admits to doing ketamine. So GHB is something that Cassie says she took, but it wasn't, to her knowledge, laced in the baby oil. Another text shows that Cassie would go to drugstores, not just for baby oil, but for candles, saying, quote, I'm going to Duane Reade to grab candles, and I'm going home to pack us a bag. Do you want my reg clothes, BTW, or just sweats? Then I can go check in and set up the room. I'll eat, take my vitamins, LOL, and get ready before I leave the house. Just want to know what you're thinking. After the testimony Cassie first gave about the alleged abuse she suffered at the hands of Combs during their relationship, you do wonder what these messages, showing that she would be part of setting up the freak-offs, whether they have an impact on the jury's perception of this relationship after what Cassie first told them. The text messages show that Cassie did a fair amount of shopping herself for these freak-offs. The defense presented her text messages of her going to sex stores, like a place called Pleasure Chest, where she said she would get sexual supplies, lubricants, and outfits. And you can also see in this part of the transcript, the defense points out that Combs apparently volunteers to go to a store to buy supplies, and they say, quote, in fact, there were many occasions in which he was picking up supplies for the freak-off, right? And Cassie answers, quote, he picked up supplies. Yeah, that is another defense attempt to make the freak-off seem more consensually planned than
important for the defense, because what they need
Yeah, these are so finally we get the first set of transcripts. Hey, by the way, Chris Black, thank you for the 5. He says, act love the consistency. I'm gonna read donations in a second. Justin Bieber spoke about what?
I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
We're going crazy.
Crazy.
When Sean Diddy Combs' properties were raided in March of 2024, there was a lot of speculation about what might be found inside and whether it would be connected to any of his celebrity friends and acquaintances. As Homeland Security agents poured out of his mansions in LA and Miami with boxes full of electronics, there were rumors that if Combs filmed his elaborate sex performances called freak-offs or other parties, there could be video evidence of possible criminal activity. And the celebrity at the center of a lot of rumors, warranted or not, was Justin Bieber. But now, during week 1 of Combs' criminal trial, the singer has officially responded to allegations that Combs may have abused him as he was coming up in the music industry. We're going to talk about that right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. He was discovered when he was just on charge among Sean Combs' victims. There are individuals, he quote, although Combs' sex trafficking, the biggest rumors that has been hanging over the entire Diddy saga was Justin Bieber a victim of his alleged predatory and inappropriate behavior? Well, I'll tell you what, Now, as week 1 of Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial comes to a close, Justin Bieber's camp is finally responding. So his representatives told TMZ, quote, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, there are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from this reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. So to talk about this, I want to bring back on former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Nima, so good to see you.
Wow. So look like, you know, Justin clears his name, but he's not picking up for Diddy. He's actually almost saying that, yo, Diddy is a monster. He's just saying, I'm just not going to lie and say that nigga fucks me or some shit.
All right, let's talk Diddy again. It is a smashing day for the defense. I think that they're doing a great job on the cross-examination of Cassie, getting her to admit things without getting too aggressive, really doing a nice job, as well as confirm that it was a female attorney that was doing the cross-examination. She gave her the light hand of, hey, you're a very beautiful woman. You are a star in your own right. Really complimenting her to make her feel comfortable before they start to get her to admit to a lot of things that are actually helping the defense greatly. That they were swingers, that there were certain times that she enjoyed things, that there were certain times that she did certain things, that all these different things that she's admitting to because she feels more comfortable. And the way that the cross-examination is going is really, really helping the defense, and it's the smartest way to do it. Really, this is not someone who you want to get aggressive with right off the bat, which I think they probably will end up getting a little bit aggressive with her on some of the questions, but a lot of the questions are very soft-handed because you know she's going to admit to a lot of these things, so there's no reason to have her fight it. So they opened with a lot of soft questions like, you know, you're a star and you were a real important person, and build her up, and then get her to admit that they were swingers, that she watched him have sex with women, that she watched him do certain things. So it starts to undermine and undercut what the government is trying to do here. And it really puts an exclamation mark on where is the line here, where she didn't enjoy things, where she did enjoy things, where he would have known that what he was doing was against her will, the drugs that were being taken, the red carpets that she was on, the sex that she was arranging for herself. Really nice job so far. And I think that, like I said before, this is setting the tone for how the defense is going to keep going in this case. All right, let's talk Diddy again. It is a smashing day for the defense.
Okay. All righty then.
I would have to twist circumstances.
Okay. Yeah, so again, what we're waiting for are a few things, right? It looks like the government has chosen to not give their second lead witness, which is going to be Jane Doe. So she didn't follow up Cassandra Ventura. We saw an investigator who basically wanted to show the continuing pattern of Diddy still having materials for a freak off. This is why also Rico is important, because an overt act is going to be having the baby oil. Now, having baby oil, that's not illegal. But if it's now a tool that's being used in a sex trafficking sexual context, yes, to show that you continue to have baby oils and astroglides and those drugs is going to show that Diddy has been, you got to remember, Rico is for conspiracy. But to show a conspiracy and in a racketeering sense, you have to show a pattern. And you establish a pattern when you show that this person keeps doing the same type of things over and over again. Diddy keeps with the baby oil. Got baby oil at the crib, they get seized, he go get some more. Yo, he astroglide, he go get some more. So that's kind of what it is, right? Interesting. Let me get this guy on the end of the day.
Day 5 at the Diddy hearing, and we just concluded the testimony of critical witness Cassie Ventura. You're likely aware of the fact that Cassie Ventura is a longtime girlfriend of Diddy, dating on and off for a period of 11 years in 2007, 2018, and she was one of the 2 individuals that the government is claiming was trafficked by Diddy. We were in the middle of the second day of cross when we broke for lunch, and after lunch there wasn't much headway that the defense managed to get in trying to break down her story. The one nugget that they got from her is she admitted that the videos that the government introduced as exhibits, which were actual videos from the infamous freak-offs, came from her own broken cell phone devices and broken laptops. And the defense made the point.
So remember the idea that Diddy was the one who was saving the videos because he was such a freak and a creep. We get to realize Cassie, who claims she's traumatized by the events, she had the videos. However, she tried to explain why she had the videos. She said, I didn't want to bring it to the Apple store to get rid of it. And I was too scared to go look at what was on them, I guess. But she knew what was on them because she turned it over to the cops.
Those videos were from 2012 and 2014, isn't that correct? Yes. And you were still holding on to them a decade later, isn't that correct? Yes. Well, that was a point that would be brought up and addressed on redirect. I just want to read to you the final question that was asked on cross. And that was a text exchange between Diddy and Cassie, where Diddy said, "You want to freak off one last time?" And she responded, "What?" And he said, "You can't read?" And she said, "I don't want to freak off for the last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives." And she said, "That's what it says." And the defense said, "No further questions." Well, right away, the state on redirect jumped up and said, "Let's read a little bit further there," and they read further text exchange messages where she is explaining to Diddy that she is feeling emotional, that she's getting off of her meds, and that she just was dealing with a UTI, and that she never wants to have another freak off again. They also addressed the issue with respect to the cell phone, saying, "Why did you hold on to those broken cell phones for 10 years? And she said, "I knew there were videos on there, and I was afraid I couldn't take it to an Apple store because I was afraid that someone would find the videos on there, and I wasn't able to get a chance to delete them." So she was afraid to have them fall into the public's hands. The state did a fairly strong job of buttressing up whatever issues they felt was knocked into her testimony. And the really key thing that they landed was they were talking about the incident that happened when she was flying back from Cannes to New York, and they had just gotten into a big fight while they were in Cannes. While in Cannes, Diddy accused her of stealing drugs from him and got very angry with her, threw her off a boat, and then they were at a premiere together, and he was allegedly squeezing her leg like really hard throughout the movie. And then when they were flying home, she tried moving seats away from him. After she moved seats away from him, he followed after her and managed to sit next to her. And she said for the entire flight from Cannes to New York that he opened up his laptop and was playing a video of her freak off right there on the plane in front of everyone, or anyone who would pass by at the very least, and that he threatened her that if she doesn't do what he wants, he's going to release those videos. And so this incident was brought back up. It came up initially on direct, came back up on cross, and now on redirect. The state brought up and said, "What did you do that night when you got back from Cannes? We did a freak off. And why did you do that? Why did you do that?" "Oh, because I was afraid." "And what were you afraid of?" "Well, I was afraid he was going to release videos if I didn't do what he wanted." "And was there anything else?" "I was also afraid he was going to get angry." "And what happens when he gets angry?" "When he gets angry, he gets violent." Now, that was the first real time, that's really the first incident that Cassie specifically identifies. This is a night that I spent engaged in those encounters where I did not want to do it, and the only reason she did it was because she felt that she had no choice. She talks throughout her testimony about how she was coerced and compelled, but it often is laced in with this aspiration of getting Diddy to show her love and spend time with her. And that might make it difficult for the jury to actually convict him of trafficking. However, at least now the state has an opportunity to point to no less than one night that we know for certain that she felt compelled, based on his conduct earlier that day, she felt compelled to perform in a freak-off and engage in a sexual encounter with a stranger. She also said that she never wanted to have sex with any other man throughout the relationship during the entire time other than Sean, and that she was continually seeking and craving attention exclusively from him, and that she never wanted to be with any of these other men. And that was designed to displace the notion that the defense was trying to plant in the minds of the jury that she was that she was sexually adventurous or was looking to engage in these adventures for her own personal benefit. Now, on recross, I should tell you, there was an electric moment which made the entire audience gasp. And they gasped harder on this than anything I saw throughout the 5 days that we've had trial so far. And that is that on recross, the defense brought up and asked her if she is expecting any more money out of this case. Now, on redirect and on direct, she had said she stands nothing to gain from this case, that she has nothing pending, she has no lawsuits pending, she stands nothing to gain on the outcome of this case, and that's a critical thing that the prosecution will frequently ask witnesses in order to help show that they're not tainted by some sort of financial bias or an incentive that if they help in a conviction here, it's going to help them personally. And she had said both times that no, I have nothing to gain here. But the shock and gasp came from when she was asked about whether she had a lawsuit with the Intercontinental, and she admitted that she did sue the Intercontinental. And she asked if she got paid money from the Intercontinental, and she said no. She said, and then the follow-up from the defense was, are you anticipating any money? And she said yes. And then she was asked how much. She's like, I'm not sure. Can you ballpark it? And she said around $10 million. That caused the entire room to gasp. Now, then there was another redirect, a second redirect, where the state brought back up and said, but you stand nothing to gain from this case. Is that not true? Yes. You have nothing pending. Yes. So whatever the outcome here, everything is exactly the same for you. Yes. And then there was one last question from the defense before she was able to step down, and that was, when did you reach your settlement with the Intercontinental? Wasn't that last week? And she said, no, it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month. And just when that question was asked, I'll tell you that the room I was in, which is not the courtroom, it's a viewing room meant for journalists and reporters or those interested in following the case, there was a very loud gasp of shock from the entire room. Now, does that affect her testimony? That's for the jury to decide. Does that implicate anything? Does that mean that she was not trafficked? From a legal perspective, you would think that it doesn't have any impact on this case. But we need to recognize the fact that the law and legal impact does not necessarily translate into how people feel emotionally. So I'll let you weigh in. Do you think the fact that she got $20 million from Diddy and additional $10 million from the Intercontinental should have any impact on this? Please drop a comment below.
I don't know if it should have impact, but I think you are going to think about that. I think you are going to think about it. Now, I mean, there would be an idea of maybe she would like to see a conviction because the liability of those who were in or around this idea of her being trafficked, they basically owe her, or they could be sued, even though she said that she has nothing more to gain. It's clear that she's still collecting a bag, or she's down to collect a bag, because they sent a demand letter and they supposedly got a settlement as late as a couple weeks ago. So again, I guess you would definitely weigh it. I'm not sure, because she got the $10 million from Intercontinental, if I'm just thinking about that one fact, And do you believe her? I don't think you take that one fact and be like, you can't believe her now. So we will see, man. We will see. Okay. Did Myron talk about this? I know Myron was in court. Yeah, chat. After this, we're gonna go to another subject. I think we've been diddied out, really. Is it not here? I guess it's not here. Did he delete? Myron Gaines. This is interesting. Where is that? Oh, he's live right now. Oh.
So I think we're live, guys.
Oh, it's Fresh and Fit.
Facts.
Okay. All right. I think we've exhausted damn near every angle.
You want to go shopping? Make sure to follow along.
Every angle from this Diddy and Cassie case. Week 1 is now concluded. If you ask me if I had to score week 1, if I had to score week 1, what would I score it? I would say Diddy's up. I would say this was, if we're scoring them like rounds, I think this is a 10-9 for Diddy. I think obviously some of the details are jumping off the page because we're seeing a lifestyle that we're not probably into, or we're seeing a non-traditional sexual lifestyle. However, I have to say, I think Diddy's team is doing a good job of showing that Cassie was consensual with wanting to do this at a large majority of the time. It was her idea a bunch of times, and also he gave her a lot of opportunity to leave. When he finally was done with her, he had no threats, and yes, he had a temper. They both had a drug problem. They both were getting high together. They both were violent. I think those things helped Diddy in a Rico sex trafficking case as opposed to if it was just domestic violence.
Cassie Ventura has a...
Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for.
Can you talk...
This was a freak-off video.
More today about what was inside Diddy's hotel room and heard striking testimony from Dawn Richard. I'm going to be breaking down what happened in today's courtroom with Elizabeth Milner, Law and Crimes reporter, who was inside to hear and see it all. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Well, after 4 days of harrowing testimony, Cassandra Ventura has finally stepped down from the witness stand in Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial. And her account that spanned allegations of physical abuse, rape, coercion, alleged freak-offs, even this purported $20 million settlement, this painted quite a picture of their decades-long relationship. And it gives the jury a lot to think about. And I gotta say, I think it made this case a whole lot grayer, particularly after the cross-examination. So we're gonna break down everything that we learned from today's proceedings, day 5 of this bombshell trial, and also what we can expect to come. So to help me do that, I want to bring back on Law and Crimes reporter who has been inside that courtroom for every second of these proceedings. Elizabeth Milner is back with us. Elizabeth, so good to see you. First of all, I got to say, before you came out to do your hit, there was a little bit of like commotion out there. Basically, there's a lot of people watching this case. There's a lot of people outside that courthouse. Can you briefly explain to us what the atmosphere is like, both inside and outside the courtroom? It feels like that is the scene. That's the epicenter right now.
Absolutely. And, look, there's been a lot of public interest in this case, not just from us in the media, but also those who just either want to get a glimpse of Diddy himself, want to get a glimpse of Diddy's family. And so there is never, just not enough people from the public who are here outside that courtroom. When I came outside today just to chat with you, Jesse, I walked outside and all of a sudden I saw a woman with kind of hair extensions in her hair. She was yelling back and forth with a man was yelling at her. It was pretty tense. I didn't know kind of what was going on, but a lot of people were crowding around them. I walk across the street and all I see are Free Diddy t-shirts, which is very surprising, something I didn't see when I entered the courtroom this morning, but that was very early this morning, so maybe a lot of people were realizing it's a Friday, let me go to the courthouse, let me see what's up, and let me just see if I can get a glimpse, because some people are still under the assumption Diddy just walks out of the courtroom every day, but that's not the case. He still goes back to MDC Brooklyn every night, every day after trial. But for the most part, there's still kind of a busy scene. Even right behind me, a lot of people kind of crowding around. Either the media is going to be out there, it's people with cameras, their cell phone cameras, actual physical cameras as well too, just trying to get a glimpse of what all this action is. Because, even with us in the media, the cameras still go all the way down the block. You can think of pretty much every big legacy station that is here at the courtroom covering this case. You can think of podcasts, you can think of YouTubers and influencers who just want a piece of this action, to see what this proceeding is like, to see the trial of Diddy, because that's exactly what is happening. As far as inside the courtroom today, as far as the mood goes and everything like that, it was another highly anticipated day, because we were wondering how the cross-examination of Cassie Ventura would continue. As far as those who were there to support Diddy today, again, it was definitely a different scene than it was the first couple of days of trial, in that, his daughters aren't there anymore, his mother wasn't there. But, I do want to say, as far as why they're not there, a source did tell me it's because the twins are about to graduate. It is graduation season, it's prom season, so they did fly back home in order to attend to those events. But as far as the support system that Diddy did have inside the courtroom, it was his sons, his 3 adult sons, who were inside that courtroom today: Quincy, Justin Combs, Christian Combs. And then as far as Cassie's support system inside that courtroom today, you had her attorney, Doug Wigder, inside that courtroom, Cassie's mother inside that courtroom, her brother, and then of course her husband, Alex Fine. And so a lot of people just in general were anticipating where this cross-examination would go, how the government would come back from the cross-examination, especially, after seeing a bunch of text messages that were either about, them being in love together, or the sexually explicit messages that were talked about ad nauseum today. But that was kind of the mood and the atmosphere as far as kind of what's going down here at the federal courthouse.
Now, we've said this before, I'll say it again, there are no cameras allowed in this courtroom, unfortunately. There's no recording devices or transcribing devices that are allowed. But if they were, you know how much Claude Nopin, like, as you believe, who took the stand to substance if you actual cross-examination. And by the way, there was 2 other witnesses who took the stand too that are very, very pivotal to this case, which we'll get to. Overall, real quick, what did you notice from the jury today? What was their demeanor? Anything catch your attention about them? I know it's so hard to try to read what they're doing, but anything you can tell us about the jury?
Yeah, it's always hard to kind of read them, especially from where I was sitting inside the courtroom today. So I got that angled view, which means I got a lot of the back of their head. So I saw a lot of them, for the most part, doing what they've been doing all week, something that the judge even noted: paying attention. They were paying attention. They were jotting down notes. They were looking at exhibits. Again, still doing that tennis match between either looking at Ana Maria Esteveo doing the cross-examination, then looking at Cassie, or they're just focusing on Cassie. But there was still, as far as what I could see from the jury, it doesn't seem like they're bored of this case, maybe just yet. But for the most part, they are being very attentive. As the judge pointed out today, they're coming in on time. They are ready to serve on this jury, and they have been paying very close attention to everything that's going on.
And that's interesting you say that, because yesterday, I think you were saying during the cross-examination, they looked a little checked out maybe. I was wondering maybe it was they understood where the defense's case was going. Was it a bit too repetitive? But I felt today's cross-examination was different. I'll tell you, one of the things that everybody's been talking about while you've been in the courthouse was apparently this audio recording. This audio recording that was played of Cassandra Ventura, where she was apparently quite angry. This is interesting because in a case where the defense is trying to characterize everything that Cassandra Ventura allegedly went through was consensual and that Diddy's actions are being mischaracterized as criminal, what was this audio tape? What was the value of this audio tape? What did the jury hear?
Well, the value of the audio tape seemed pretty great to the defense. It was from 2014, and it was an audio recording between Cassie and somebody that she had worked with named Sujit. Now, Sujit's kind of important to Cassie's story because Sujit had told Cassie he had an sexually explicit video of her on his phone that somebody had told him about this video. And so she confronted Sujit about this because she had initially thought this was a freak-off video and just wanted to know where he had gotten this video, how did this video come into his possession. And so the audio was, I think, kind of a pretty bombshell moment this morning with the testimony goes, because when you're listening to Cassie on the stand, she is very soft-spoken. She is very quiet and she is very calm, cool, and collected when she's answering questions. But under this audio, you could tell, and this was, more than 10 years ago at this point, but you could tell she was very, very upset while trying to confront Sujit about essentially this sexually explicit video. So it was taken in Atlantic City, and then the defense had kind of point out during this time Diddy was all the way in California. But Cassie had told Sujit on this audio recording, we'll figure it out, and asked him, so you saw a video of me pleasuring myself, and Sujit said that he did have the video and he had this video on her phone, and Cassie says, well, it's not me pleasuring myself because you said somebody else was in the room. And Cassie repeatedly had asked, can I see it? Can I see it? Can I see it? Then she goes into, and this is probably the part that kind of may have worked in the defense's favor, she says, I will kill you. I will kill you. I'll put you in a desert. I will cut you. She says, I'll get somebody else to do it because you're effing with my life. She had said that, this sugar honey iced tea is not cool, and you can take the first letters of those entire words to see what I'm talking about. But essentially it was just kind of her screaming as she confronted Sujit about this sexually explicit video I had talked about during the lunch hour. I can understand why she would be noticeably angry about this, right? Like, it's a private video that somebody randomly kind of has in their possession. And so, we all say things that we don't necessarily mean, such as, I will kill you. We kind of say that when we're mad. We may say it in jest. It's unclear if, she actually wanted to pursue this or anything like that. But for the most part, again, I can understand her rage in saying these things, but for the defense, it definitely was something that they were trying to paint it as. Maybe you're not as, meek and quiet as you kind of portray yourself to be. You can get aggressive. You can go and be confrontational, and then you can use your boyfriend and his power to kind of make the threat a little more serious. Because when Cassie was under direct examination, she had talked at great length just about this meetup with Sujit and how Diddy security was involved and how they had this whole meetup about this, and it was kind of a group meeting, and that a lot of people were scared and concerned. So then when you hear it kind of coming from the audio, it was just kind of a little stark contrast. And but she was, again, forthcoming about her being just embarrassed or upset if this video were to get leaked or to get out into the public. And so that was
my bad, Chad. No. I was saying that I understand, like, I don't think it all the way plays in the defense favor. Yo, she could be, let's go with this sex trafficking thing. She's going to have shame as a woman. She's not one of them women who wouldn't give a fuck if a video's out there of it. She has a public image. She is going to be kind of scared that that video could come out and ruin her public image, even if those videos are consensual or non-consensual, right? So I don't know if it's necessarily because she gets mad and she says, yo, you're playing with my livelihood or you're playing with my whatever right now. And she's like, I'll fucking kill you. It means that, oh, nah, she definitely was down with the shit. If it was an embarrassing video, it's an embarrassing video. She doesn't want it out. It's going to change the perception of her.
audio recording, but you know, you could definitely hear her rage and her kind of upsetness about this whole incident.
Well, I tell you, I think what the defense might have been doing was saying, man, she didn't want this tape to get out, and she made sure, and Combs did everything in his power to make sure this tape didn't go out. And it's not so much, hey, this is a criminal trying to cover up his criminal activity, but this is a guy who's trying to make sure that Cassandra Ventura and he are protected from the tape coming out. Again, recharacterizing some of Sean Combs' behavior. That's what I took away from it. But by the way, I have to ask this real quick. Jonathan Oddie, so Jonathan Oddie, this is you know, he was the guy that allegedly shot up the Trump property in 2018. This male performer, at the time of his arrest, he told investigators he was a sex slave of Sean Combs, mentioned Cassandra Ventura. At the time, nobody really knew what to take of it. He came up with regarding this recording today?
He definitely did, but not necessarily regarding this particular recording when it comes to Sujit. As far as the recording goes, that mentioned Jonathan Oddie, it was about this secret video that he had taken of Cassie and Diddy at a freak off, and Diddy was trying to make this video go away. And
yo, Savvy, I ain't gonna lie, I definitely bet on the Celtics, and they getting their ass whipped, huh?
According to Cassie, while she was testifying, that Diddy spent a significant amount of money so that this video wouldn't get released. And then Cassie had explained during her cross today that essentially she and Diddy never used Jonathan again after he had did this. He said that she had said that he was never used again in a freak off because she was concerned about this situation because Audie had threatened to release this video. When Cassie spoke to Diddy just about this recording, Diddy essentially said, I'll take care of it. And the defense said, you know, would this video be embarrassing if it was released, especially for Diddy, because Diddy is a celebrity, but it would be embarrassing for you too, right? Because you're also a high profile name around this time period. And so that was definitely the Audie mention that was, you know, kind of clicked in my head today, because he was someone brought up a couple days ago when Cassie was under her direct examination, because they put up a whole bunch of exhibits, a whole bunch of photos of the escorts that were used in freak-offs, and the face that definitely stood out to me was Jonathan's face. And so just to kind of hear essentially why Jonathan was never used again during a freak-off, this kind of explains it.
Now, there was a lot of testimony regarding the 2016 incident at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles.
So the Diddy and Cassie situation has been getting freakier and freakier by the day. The more and more I hear about these allegations, Diddy is a freaky man, the king of the freak-offs. And Cassie, you feel me, she was young, vulnerable. But like what Ak said, she could have left. Like, Diddy was not holding her well. You know, this is what's hard for me. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't holding her hostage, but she said on the video that came out in the hotel where he hit her over and drug her back, she was trying to leave one of the freak-offs. And Diddy said, oh no, you're not going to leave the freak-offs. You got it. Yeah. Wait till the dude, bust a nut, allegedly. Then all over you, then scrape it off, go in the other room and rub it on my nipples. That's what he wanted. It sounds so crazy to say, but that's what Diddy wanted. Like, we seen him in the robe. I thought he was just fresh out the shower. But allegedly, he was probably butt naked. I'm surprised there was no baby oil on her or him, or she wiped it off. That's why he was so mad. It was no baby oil on. Hey, man. I genuinely feel bad for Cassie. I feel bad for her husband, too, because he has to be in court and he's listening to all these things. And I don't really think Cassie's lying about anything. Like, Cassie just seems like a nice girl, probably like gentle, innocent, like, and she just wanted a career. Like, man, I'm struggling here because I want to be very, very honest about everything, like my point of view. I don't think Diddy was the best of best people, and I think everything he did to Cassie was wrong, and it was definitely manipulative and all that stuff. But like, is it sex trafficking though? Like, this is what he's charged for. Like, domestic violence Yes. Assault, yes. Like probably a bunch of other crazy stuff, yes. But sex trafficking, bro, I don't know if you could say he was sex trafficking. But it's only day 2 of the trial. And I'm gonna be very, very unbiased about every single thing I say. It's day 2 of the trial. Diddy is he's there every day. They say that he's looking white as hell, he's gray as hell. He's, you feel me? They said he was looking at Cassie the whole time. But day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe 2 weeks later, there might be someone else taking the stand, and we don't know how that's gonna go. Maybe like 3 days later, there's gonna be a new person taking the stand, and they just expose everything about Diddy. Like, we don't know fully everything Diddy has done yet. Like, there might have been men that he was having free calls with. Like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, Act was the line about what he said. Diddy should just came out and said that he was a flexible, bro. He should just said he was bisexual, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And what Act said, bro, all these rappers gotta come out who was around Diddy, like really, really hung around Diddy and was like really cool with him. They need to come out and like, yeah, yeah, bro. You gotta defend yourself, your integrity. You feel me? But your boy Big Act News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And do you feel like Diddy's innocent, or do you feel like he's guilty? And we're talking about sex trafficking. Like, we're not talking about is he a good person or not. Do you think he's guilty of sex trafficking, Cassie? It's your boy Big Act News, and I'm out.